Really quick. So today we're doing mastery check. The 28th, you're doing mastery check. 1st, you're doing mastery check. 27th, you're doing performance final. 6th, you're doing unit 4B test. If you are missing a test or missing a quiz or whatever, we're going to take care of that today after the mastery check. So focus on this, and then we'll take care of the other stuff. Okay. So right here, okay, this is multiplication. This is what we learned on Monday. So box, x plus 3 times x plus 5. Yes, I can write x times x is x squared. X times 3 is 3x. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is 15. You're going to add up the diagonal. That's going to give me 8x in the middle. And x squared, we just bring it down. And 15, we just bring it down. Is that the same thing that's over here? No. False. Okay. Over here, if we do x plus 2 times x plus 4, what's x times x? And that's not what they have right here, right? So false. And that's x times x equals x squared. With me? Okay, that was a recap from like Tuesday. Okay, now this is what we did yesterday and the day before. Okay, when we factor this guy, we're going to do a times c. What's 2 times negative 6? Negative 12. What's our b term? There's nothing written here, so we assume it's a 1, right? What two numbers can multiply to get us 12, but add together to get us 1? So what are factors of 12? Let's list those out. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Can I add 1 and 12 to get 1? No. What about 2 and 6? Okay, so 4 and 3, and this guy's got to be negative, right? Why does he have to be negative? Because the bottom number down here is positive, so bigger number has to be positive. Okay, now, since our a term is bigger than 1, we're going to divide by 2. With me? Okay, 4 divided by 2 gives us x plus 2. This gives me a fraction, so I pull this guy up, move this guy over. That's going to give me 2x minus 3. Is that what they have written right here? Yes, so that's going to be true. I'm seeing a lot of writing, so I want you to try that last one. Checking your work. A times c is going to give me 2. B is 3. What two numbers can I multiply to get me 2, but add together to get me 3? 2 and 1. A is bigger than 1, so we're going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. This gives me a fraction. So we're going to pull that to the top, push that guy over. Is that what they have written here? No. See how we do that? Now rate yourself. Did you get them all right? That's 100. You got 3 right? That's 75. You got 2 right? That's a 50. You got 1 right? That's 25. You got none right? That's 0. You should at least be at 50, 75-ish. Probably 100 at this point. Good? Okay, so go ahead and take a look at, this was yesterday's paper. Go ahead and take that out. If you didn't grab it, or you want to grab an extra one over here. Okay, so let's talk about your mastery check. Your mastery check is going to be solved. Okay, so yesterday we talked about factoring into solving. Okay, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be 2 questions long. Okay, and these are kind of similar to what they're going to look like. Now, this little maze just does factoring, but we're going to actually take it up a notch and go into solving. Let me zoom out. Okay, so we're going to start here. Okay, so go ahead and try to factor this guy. Okay, go ahead and try to factor this guy. Time to get everything done. All right, so on this one, we're going to factor. Yeah. Okay, so we've got x squared plus 5x plus 6. A times c gives me 6. B is 5, right? So what are factors of 6? 1 and 6, 2 and 3. Okay, now can I add 1 and 6 to get 5? I mean, kinda. 2 and 3, can I add that together? Yes. Okay, A is not bigger than 1. So we don't have to do anything crazy. And we can just write this out as x plus 2 times x plus 3. Everybody good on that? Now, on your mastery check, it says solve. So you're going to take each one of these pieces, set it equal to 0, and then solve. So we're going to subtract 2, and that's going to give us x equals negative 2. We're going to subtract 3, and that's going to give us x equals negative 3. So sorry, that's at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to go this way. Try this problem. Let's chat. So you should have gotten negative 6 in the top, 1 in the bottom. You cannot see that. Okay. And so those two numbers are going to be 3 and negative 2. The reason why it's going to be negative 2 is because the bottom is positive. The bigger number is going to be positive. Okay. So we get x plus 3, x minus 2. Okay. We see that this is the solution. Or I'm sorry, this is the answer. But if we wanted to actually solve, we're going to take these, set them equal to 0, and solve. So that's going to give me x equals 2 and x equals negative 3. All right. You did a times c, so that's negative 12 on the top. B is 1. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me negative 12, but add together to get me 1? 4 and negative 3. This is going to give, oh, I'm sorry. And a is bigger than 1, so we're going to divide by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Negative 3 divided by 2 is a fraction, right? So we're going to take the bottom, move it to the top, push that guy over. So 2x minus 3. Is everybody okay on that part? Okay, now we're going to solve. So we're going to take both of these and set them equal to 0. This guy, we're just going to subtract 2. So that's going to be x equals negative 2. Everybody can normally do that one. The other one is the problem. We're going to add 3 first. And then divide by 2. So x is going to equal 3 halves. If you plug it in as a decimal, that's okay too. Okay. Questions over this? Are we okay? Yep. Positive 3. Because we moved the 3 over. So we added 3 and then divided by 2. So there's no negative. Yep.
So how do you know which that forms of
So if a, the first term, is bigger than 1, whatever that number is, we're going to divide by it. Yep. Yep.
So we have that and then we put up in front like and so we just
So this negative 3?
upside down. It'd be 2x minus 2, right?
Right. So then you're going to move the 3 over to the other side. So we're going to add it. So we added that 3. And then we divide by 2. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's try this one. Let's try one more. I do want to throw one thing out there. If I had this, oh, let me try that again. Can't see that. If I had this problem, but it was written like this, everybody like put a pause real quick. If it was written like this, I can't start messing with it until I have it in standard form. That means everything has to be on one side. So what did I do with that 6, that negative 6? I added it to the other side, right? Okay. If it was written like this, plus 6. Okay. If it has that negative 7x over here, same thing. We're going to add it to the other side. One thing you need to be careful, that guy goes in the middle then. Okay. Now you can factor. There's one problem on your mastery check. Some of you get it, some of you don't, depending on the version, that it has this number on the other side. Okay. You have to move it first and then start your factoring. Okay. So then take a moment. Okay. So a lot of people make this mistake because they're not paying attention to that A term. A times C is 12. B is 7. What two numbers can I multiply together to get me 12, but add to get me 7? 3 and 4. Okay, divide by your 2. What's 4 divided by 2? 2. Ooh, that was ugly too. What's 3 divided by 2? Well, that's a fraction. So we're going to put the 2 in the front and push the 3 over. Okay, now we're going to take both of these, set them equal to 0, and then solve. So we subtract 3, divide by 2. So x equals negative 3 halves. We're going to subtract 2. X equals negative 2. Questions on this? Okay, your mastery check is 2 questions. One of them, depending on the version you get, has like an A of 1. And then one of them has an A of 2. So you got to do it both ways. Does that make sense? Go ahead. Not a whole number, bring it down. This guy? Okay, yes, I brought it down, but I changed the sign when I solved. So from 3 halves, we put this into 2x plus 3, and then we solved. So we move that 3 to the other side and we divide it by 2. Yeah? Okay. Intercept. And we do it by graphing. This is probably the easiest way, okay, to actually solve. So if we take x squared plus 7x plus 6, okay, where does it cross the x-axis? Not negative 6 and negative 1, right? When we go on here and we draw a rough sketch, we have at x equals negative 6, which is kind of off the page. And then x equals negative 1. And then we're going to just sketch. So our solutions for 1 would be x equals negative 6 and negative 1. If you factored and like actually solved it out, that would take you a little bit longer, right? So if you are on the EOC or your final exam, graph it, see where it crosses the x-axis. Okay? On number 2, we're going to graph it and then see where it crosses the x-axis. So x squared minus 5x plus 6. X squared minus 5x plus 6. Okay, so where does it cross the x-axis? 2 and 3. So we're going to draw a sketch. At 2 and 3, we got x-intercept. Okay. Solve by graphing is probably the easiest. Now, here's the part that sucks. When you graph, you normally can't see like if it's a decimal, like if it's a repeating fraction. Like if you had 2/3, well, like we know that's 0.666 repeating. But sometimes there's fractions that you don't know, so that's kind of hard. But with that being said, go ahead and try number 3. Graph it, draw a sketch, and tell me what the x. And again, that should be really quick. It's like 30 seconds because all you got to do is type it in. So that should give me, and if we factored this, this would be negative 8. 2 or 2 minus. So it's going to be negative 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2, right? And there's my sketch. Questions? Okay, solving by graphing should be the easiest thing. Okay, because you just look at the x-intercepts. Okay. Yes, ma'am. No, because when we factor on 2, we would have gotten 6 and negative 5. That would have been negative 2, negative 3. And then when we solve, that would be x equals 2 and 3. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Flip the page. Okay. So these are some like little refreshers. Like you've kind of seen these before. Okay. Now, if we wanted to simplify this, we've got a negative underneath the radical. If you type this into your calculator, what do you get? So somebody type in their calculator, square root of negative 12, negative 12. It says error, right? Okay, so the answer to this is we can't do this really. Okay, not until Algebra 2. But I'm going to go ahead and show you kind of the Algebra 2 way to do it. What are factors of 12? 6 and 2. And then what are factors of 6? Okay, what are pairs? The 2's, right? So we're going to pull that outside, and we're left with that negative 3 underneath the radical. Again, if you type this into your calculator, it's going to say error. Okay. And that's going to come up in just a second. On number 2, how do we solve this? We have x squared. How do we get rid of a squared? Square root. What's the square root of 64? It's positive and negative 8. The reason why we have a positive and a negative version is because if we have negative 8 times negative 8, that gives us positive 64. If we have 8 times 8, it's positive 64. Ready okay on that? Okay. Number 3 is a throwback to like 6th grade. If we wanted to solve this guy, we want to get rid of this fraction. How do we get rid of a fraction? We multiply by the what? Reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 4 on both sides. And that's going to give me x minus 12 equals negative 28. Now we want x by itself. So we're going to add 12 to both sides. So that's going to give me x equals negative 16. So on number 1, we've got x squared equals 100. Okay. So x squared equals 100. Yeah, that's right there. Thanks. X squared equals 100. How do we get rid of a squared? We take the square root. What's the square root of 100? 10. So that's going to be positive and negative 10. On number 2, we want to get x by itself, but it's attached to this minus 49. We're going to move the 49 to the other side by adding. And then we're going to take the square root. What's the square root of 49? Positive and negative 7. I need you to get in the habit of saying that positive and negative version. Everybody okay on this so far? I'm about to throw something crazy at you. On number 3, we're going to move the 49 to the other side by subtracting. And then we're going to take the square root of negative 49. If we type square root of negative 49 into our calculator, what do we get? Error. So this is going to be called no real solution. You don't want to say no solution. You want to say no real solution. Okay. There are different number systems. Okay. Like we've got whole numbers, we got natural numbers, we've got real numbers. We also have imaginary numbers, which is what you're going to learn in Algebra 2. Okay. So imaginary numbers is just a new number system. No, we really don't use it in the real world. That's why they're called imaginary. Okay. But make this make sense. What number can I multiply by itself and get negative 49? Okay, negative 7 times negative 7. Does that give me positive or negative 49? Okay, so that doesn't work. 7 times 7 doesn't work. And some people say negative 7 times 7. Well, that's not the same number. Does that make sense? So that's why we've got an imaginary system. Okay. All right. Looking at number 4. Looking at number 4. We're going to divide by 3 on both sides to get that x squared by itself. And then we're going to take the square root. So x is going to equal positive and negative 3. Okay. So now when do we use this? Y'all can see it up on the board. I wrote the different ways that we solve. The different ways we solve is by factoring, which is what we learned, graphing, and solving by square roots. Okay? Solving by square roots is what we're doing here. This is when there's no B term. Okay, what I mean by B term is that ax squared plus bx plus c. There's no term that just has like a regular x. Okay, notice how there's no term that has a regular x. That's why we can solve by completing this. I'm sorry, solve by square roots. Can you try number 5? Okay, so let's talk through number 5. We're going to divide by 4. Okay, can we simplify 26 over 4? Are they both divisible by something? 2. So that's going to be 13 over 2. Now, when we take the square root, that's going to give us x equals a positive and negative square root of 13 over 2. That's it. Okay. Go ahead and try number 6. Remember, to get rid of a fraction, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Okay, so on number 6, we're going to multiply by 2. And so that's going to give me x squared equals negative 8. When we take the square root of both sides, we can't take the square root of a negative number. So it's going to be no real solution. On your final, as well as on your EOC, you're going to see a question with this on there. You've got to remember it. Okay. The next one, we're going to subtract 5. And that's going to give us 8x squared equals negative 16. We're going to divide by 8. And so that's going to be x squared equals negative 2. We take the square root of both sides. Again, cannot take a square root of a negative number. So no real solution. You cannot write no solution. It has to be no real solution. Number 8, we're trying to get x by itself. So we're going to add 2 to both sides. And that's going to give me 0 equals 1/3 x squared. We need to get x by itself. So we're going to multiply by 3 on both sides. And that's going to give me x squared equals 0. Well, when you take the square root of 0, what do you get? You just get 0. There's no positive, negative version of it. Can you try number 9 and 10? Okay, so in order to get x by itself, we're going to divide by negative 3. That's going to give me x squared plus 5 equals 7. I'm going to subtract 5. That's going to give me x squared equals 2. When I take the square root of both sides, I'm going to get x equals positive and negative square root of 2. Okay. Number 10 looks a little crazy. I would suspect this being on like your SAT, or you would see it a little bit later. We're going to distribute this guy because we're trying to get everything. We're trying to get x's on one side, numbers on the other. So we're going to add that 8 to the other side. And that's going to give me 59. We're going to combine 2x squared and negative 7x squared. So that's going to give me negative 5x squared. We divide by negative 5. That's going to give me 59 over negative 5. If we take the square root, we cannot take the square root of a negative number. So we're going to have no real solution. On here, we're trying to get x by itself. Remember, we're doing reverse PEMDAS, right? Like when we're solving, we're going backwards. There's no addition, subtraction, but there is multiplication here. 3 times this jump. So we're going to divide by 3. And 48 divided by 3 gives us 16. Okay, now here's the confusing part. We have a squared right here, and we have a negative 2 right here. We can't just pull this outside the parentheses. We first have to take the square root of both sides. So what's the square root of 16? That's the square root of 16. Positive and negative 4. Okay, notice how I just took this out from that parentheses then. Okay. Now, we're going to move that 2 to the other side. So we're going to add that 2 to the other side. Watch the chaos. So we got 2 plus 4 and 2 minus 4. Well, what's 2 plus 4? 6. 2 minus 4? Negative 2. Okay, so here are our solutions. Okay, so this one's just a little different. Okay, and it's because it has that x minus 2 parentheses in it. Same concept's going to happen on 12. We're going to subtract 6. And then we're going to divide by 2. We want to get x by itself, so we're going to take the square root of both sides. And that gives us positive and negative square root of 12. We're going to move the 7 to the other side. So that'll give us negative 7 plus or minus square root of 12. We can simplify the square root of 12, but right now we're just going to leave it like this. These are the problems you're probably going to see most often. We're going to get more practice on this next week, okay? You can. So this would be negative 7 plus or minus square root of 2 square root of 3. Because you would simplify that square root of 12. Again, we're going to talk more about these two next week.